What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the latest offering from modern Greek thrash titans, Suicidal Angels, with Profane Prayer. This also came out on March 1st, this time on Nuclear Blast Records, and, well, again, kind of like how I am with a lot of modern thrash bands, never really checked out Suicidal Angels in the past. I may have checked out an album of theirs before, might have been, I don't remember if they were the one that had the album Years of Aggression or if I'm thinking of another band, but Suicidal Angels has been one of those very popular modern European thrash bands that I just am not super familiar with. And then again, I'm kind of picky about a lot of modern thrash bands. But with this album, why don't we take a look at how they stack up with this? So we kick things off with When the Lions Die, somber melody and harmony starting off the track, and then it gets into riffs that made me think of like Modern Creator. Like there's a lot of Modern Creator all throughout this album, and when I'm talking about Modern Creator, I'm talking about going back to Violent Revolution up to Hater Brawlers, like that more melodic yet aggressive form that Creator has been really rolling with for the past 23 years. So you get a lot of that pretty much across the board on this album with some of these more melodic riffs that you get. But the chorus on this track was very melodic in its own right, and even a nice little triplet chugging bridge, which is probably the only time I would say on this album where you get a triplet chug. But then, as far as the lead work goes, I gotta say, the lead work on this album is quite exceptional, and really kind of gets showcased here at the beginning here with When the Lions Die, where the first lead is more somber and melodic, and then the second lead is more shred-tastic craziness. So, like, nice trade-off with the lead play on this track. But then we get into Crypts of Madness. Here is where you start to get a little bit more aggression. This track feeling pretty much like a Slayer song, but it's also got some like cool thrashy double time stomps happening. And also I forgot to mention with the production, while I believe two of the members produced it themselves, it was mixed and mastered by Jens Bogren, who we've already talked about quite a bit this year. And he does a good job with the mix, as the bass is pretty prevalent in the mix, and even here on Crypts of Madness, the bass gets a little moment where you can hear a really cool bass line. And then one of the cool things about the lead in particular on this track is the lead starts during the faster moment, but it continues whenever the tempos get a little more doom-laden, which was pretty cool. It was like a nice transition into more doomy rhythms while the lead was still pretty much going on. Purified by Fire. Now, this song kind of musically reminds me a lot of Exodus. Like, it's got a little bit more of like a punky thrash vibe, almost like old school Exodus, maybe even modern Exodus, like Persona non grata, or even as far back as Tempo of the Damned. And while I like this song musically, one of the complaints that I had was the chorus just kind of repeats the song title over and over, which is appropriate for thrash because you want to make the point clear. But compared to the other choruses on this album, this one definitely stood out as being perhaps the most generic, but it does work. And even a doomy breakdown pops up here as well. Then we get into Deathstalker, which features a couple of Greek metal legends. We have, oh god, I have to try and pronounce this name, Ephthimus Karadimus. I think I got that right, from Nightfall, and Sakis Tolis from Rotting Christ, contributing some guest vocals on here. And Sakis does a good job with his like more gruff, almost death metal Tom G Warrior type delivery whenever it pops up. But Karadimus, I already fucked it up. But his clean passage that comes in towards the end of the song was actually quite beautiful, I gotta admit. But this song itself is one of the more somber tracks on the album. Like, it has more acoustic melodies, somber guitar harmonies, pretty much throughout the song, doomy grooves, but it does pick up in speed when the leads come in, but then you do get more of this, like, subdued, almost like Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, like, clean melody before those clean vocals come in. Then we get into the title track, and really it was from like this point on up until we get to the closer, where it was just bullet train thrash going forward. So the title track brings in some Testament riffs that I really liked. As you can tell by a lot of these riffs, like on this track, that the guitarists were very inspired by Alex Skolnick. And even the bridge slows down the beats, but the riff still moves at a thrashy pace. Return of the Reaper, little more melodic riff at the beginning, and then when the main riffs come along, brings in some Megadeth vibes, which I really enjoyed, and even some more lead harmonies happening. Guard of the Insane, killer bass line to start off, and then it's a little even more punky than even Purified by Fire, as it's again Exodus inspired, but even some Overkill, as it's a little more DB driven, to really bring in more of like that punkiness of old school thrash, particularly in Exodus and Overkill. Virtues of Destruction, which was the shortest song of the album at just under 3 minutes. Pretty much it feels like what would happen if Slayer and Testament had a baby that explored with a little more melody in the riffs. But then we get into or not the title track, but the closing track, The Fire Paths of Fire. I think I might have wrote that title wrong, but if that was what it is, then there you go. But this track definitely showcases some nuances in their songwriting. Starts off with these like wave sounds and like Middle Eastern female wailing vocals. Then you get a little chugging riff, but then it's mostly like doomy grooves, almost like a mid-tempo accept song a little bit, with some more harmonized lead play. And then you get the Middle Eastern sitar in the middle towards the end of the song, and it definitely brings in a lot of Nile influence into the mix, and it's very atmospheric. And then the bridge, it gets back to being thrashy, basically like a Megadeth track, but then it ends on that more doomy, groovy, mid-tempo sound. So the album does end, and also that track was the longest track of the album at 9.5 minutes, so they definitely had a lot they could play with. But perhaps, maybe the big complaint I had about that song, I wished it would have ended on a big crescendo, because it does kind of end abruptly. And that's one of the few complaints that I had about this album, is the abrupt ending of the final song, as well as maybe the repetitive chorus in Purified by Fire. And really, other than that, I don't really have very much to complain about. Perhaps maybe another thing, I guess I'm not used to the vocals of this band, so I guess I have to kind of learn to kind of accept this kind of vocal style. But still, top to bottom, not really a wasted moment for the most part, except for just a couple of little moments on a couple of songs. But overall, I enjoyed this one. I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. I think this is a pretty damn good album, and I need to go back and listen to, like, particularly the early Suicidal Angels material and kind of hear how they've evolved or what have you from that point on. But still, this is some pretty good stuff. But that's, of course, my opinion. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. But until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.